Alright, in this next tutorial we'll be looking at how to use the statistics function in TOPCAT to find the means and standard deviations and eventually the errors in our star distances for each of the measuring techniques. So what we'll do to start is we'll click this icon here, the sigma, and again I'm using set number 1 for this, but this also, all these steps apply to set number 2 as well. We have here the mean, the standard deviation, I'm changing the order here by accident, and also the number of objects that are going into the calculation of the mean, standard deviation, also the minimum and maximum. But these three columns here will be primarily what we want to use. So we already have the mean, and the standard deviation and good, those are going to help for calculating the uncertainties in the mean. So we're going to start by creating a new table using this information. So we're going to click this icon right here, and you can see it added the table to our list already. So ignore number 2 for now. What we have is our main data table and then also the statistics for our table. So let's go ahead and open this table again using this icon instead. And we want to calculate the standard error, so we're going to create a new synthetic column. I'm going to move this over, and I'll just type error to represent error. Actually, I'll just type error. And then the expression, what we'll do is we'll take SD divided by the square root of n good. So it's just divided by the square root of the number of objects in the measurement that go into the measurement here. Then we click OK, and we have our error. And once we have this, what we'll want to do is go to our table here. And again, for set 2, you'll use set 2, but for set 1, we'll use the set 1 table that's provided. And you'll just go ahead and copy each of these mean, standard deviations and errors into the correct locations. So for instance, for the orange mean, you'll use these first 3 values, standard deviation, these first 3 values, and then error, first 3 values. And I'm going to go ahead and close this. And once you are finished, what you can do is save your table, as a CSV, and then load it into TOPCAT. So I'm going to minimize this again. So once you have your table all set, it should look like this, where you have all of your data here, the means, the standard deviations, and the errors for each of your objects. Again, you should have 4 objects to work with if you're using set number 2. I'll go ahead and close this, and now what we want to do is we want to plot the means and then the uncertainties of the means for each of these objects. So just as before, we're going to open a plot. Instead of the histogram, we're going to click the regular plot as we've done in the past. Let me resize this window again. And notice as well that the table has a trial column as well. So 1, 2, and 3, those are the different measurement techniques for the object. I've just called them trial for now. If you'd like to call it something else, you can change the label here, but I'll just keep it for now, and we'll work with the labels a bit later. So we have the orange mean here. What we want to do is, at least for the first one, we're going to plot the first object's mean, but eventually we're going to plot the yellow mean and the blue mean as well. So what we want to do next, though, is we want to add error bars, and we can do that by clicking Forms, and then click Add XY Error. If you scroll down a bit, let me resize the window again. We want to make sure that we're choosing the orange error. And when we click that, you see that it forms the error bars here. Some of them are off of the page, but that's okay for now. We will resize the axes a bit later. For now, we're going to focus on adding all of the means for our objects on this one plot. So we've done that. If you want as well, I should mention, you can change some formatting things. So if you want caps on top of your error bars, you can use this option. A few other items here, but these primarily are probably what you're going to want to use. And also, as before, you can change the color if you want, and the label as well for the legend. We can actually do that now. So I'll type orange star, and then if you're using set number 2, you might type something like M67 or Pleiades. So we have that. And then just as with the histograms, you're going to click to add a new data set. We're using the same table here. And then we want the X to be the same, but the Y is going to be different. Remember, because we're plotting new means for a new object. This one's yellow, so the color is not quite correct. We'll say that orange is going to be red, but yellow will make sort of an orangey yellow type of color, something that's a bit more visible than just yellow. So maybe something like, that looks a bit too orange. How about this? That's fine, I think. Something like that. And then label, I'll type yellow star like this. And for form, we're going to click this green here and add the errors again. And again, we're using error, so yellow error. And again, we have the errors visible. Now, you might have a situation where the error bars are not visible because of the point size, and that's okay. If you want to, you can change the size of your points or even make the form a bit different. Make sure if you want to change anything about the points, you click the points again. If you want to change something with the error, you click down here. So what we can do is change the size a little of these points, and you can see that the error bars become visible again. If you want to change the shape, you can also do that. I'll just keep it like this for now, and then I guess for consistency, I will also change the size of these points, and I'll also add some error bar caps real quick. Okay, and then let's quickly add the third set. So same exact thing, but now for blue mean, and then add our error bars and error. Okay, we should also probably change the color to blue because blue is different from green. And I'll type blue star, press enter, and then I can change this shape size, or not the shape, but just the size of the point as well. And oops, again, for consistency, I will add the caps. Okay, so something like this. Now, next what you want to do is you can go to legends already shown. I guess we can move it inside if we want to, just for stylistic purposes. But what we want to do is we want to change first the label of the Y because it's not correct. So I'll type distance means in meters. And for the first set, again, meters. For the second set, parsecs. And then we can, let's see, whoops, I did not mean to do that. Distance mean in meters. And then for the Y, we can do a measurement type. And for the font, we can change the font as well. Something quite neat, I think, is if you have some trouble not seeing things correctly, you can change the minimum X and Y here by entering some numbers. This is something you might want to play around with a little bit. I did not need to change that one. And you can see that as you fiddle around, you can try to fit in some points. Some of them might be a bit small, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but try to choose and try to fiddle around a bit with settings that suit what you want to show best. I'm going to assume this is fine for now, but you'll probably think a bit differently, but that's entirely your prerogative. You can choose what you think is going to best represent your data. So there's that, and then I think there's a way to change the ticking. So note that we have trial 1, trial 2, trial 3. We don't have trials that are not integers, so it doesn't make much sense to have these numbers here. So what we can do is change the X tick crowding here to just have our measurement types. if you go to grid and then scroll down and do this, you can do the y as well if you want to, but it doesn't make much sense to change the y too much, so we'll keep it like that. But for the x in particular, it makes sense to have integers. And then as a finale, as I usually do, I will save the plot and then display it for you all, and that's that. Again, if you want your points to be a bit more visible, make sure to change the size and even the shape if you so desire. But that is that.